What's up, guys? Mitch from RespectMyRegion.com, and today I wanted to talk about 3 ways cannabis companies can leverage paid Facebook and Instagram ads for their business. Yes, that is right, paid Instagram ads. It is no secret that these platforms are incredibly difficult to navigate, even organically, for cannabis businesses, and it is a common misconception or myth that you cannot leverage the tools, the advertising tools on these platforms for cannabis businesses. Yes, it is very true. If you have a cannabis brand or delivery or dispensary company, and your page is showcasing products and the aspects and value propositions that you have as a cannabis touching brand, you will not be able to run ads through that type of platform. That is very much true. You might see people do it, but those pages will eventually get shut down, or advertising accounts get shut down, or even if they're not in the process of being shut down, you just can't do it. It is explicitly against the terms of service, and I almost guarantee you will get shut down. But that does not mean that those companies cannot leverage paid advertising on these platforms. Let me explain. There's 3 different ways we've identified that this to be possible, and I can provide some examples of all of those. So the 3 different ways that we see it are building a non-cannabis aligned brand, 2 is influencer marketing, and 3 is creative brand integrations. And so I'll break down each one of those different components. So starting with, I'll go out of order, influencer marketing. Most people are familiar with that. It's very common in the cannabis space. You are paying someone to do a organic post on their platform. That is a paid ad. You are paying for an ad. So there's not clickbait, but you're probably already aware of that. A lot of companies do it, but that is a actual, by definition, paid ad on Facebook or Instagram that can be done. If someone has a large organic audience of cannabis consumers within the geographic area you want to reach, you can pay them to do a video, a shout out, a photo, whatever, a whole campaign featuring your brand or your products organically on their page. So they can tag you. Again, going back to what I said at the start, this is not going to be an advertisement from a company page. If you are a dispensary and have a dispensary Instagram account, you will not be able to run Facebook ads on that, but you can pay an influencer, which is a paid ad, to run an ad promoting your business, highlighting your value propositions, shouting out your name. Second of all, a non-cannabis aligned brand. That's the very common thing that we see is clothing. It makes sense for a lot of brands, maybe not deliveries or dispensaries, because they haven't done the greatest job of building brands or lifestyle brands. There are a couple exceptions to that, but overall, a flower touching or a vape or whatever, a product, a THC facing brand is much more fit to take the lifestyle route and much more common to see that. We look at Cookies, which while Cookies was building out a name in cannabis for genetics and just in weed in general, they were also a clothing brand. And before they had actual recreational cannabis products available, they were a clothing brand. So now they benefit of having this marketing vehicle of a Cookies clothing. They have Instagram and Facebook profiles. They can run YouTube ads, they can run Google ads on their clothing, because Cookies clothing is not Cookies cannabis. The logo on Cookies clothing and the logo on Cookies cannabis, however, is the exact same thing. And if you see a Cookies clothing item, it is also somewhat promoting the brand. So they're able to leverage their non-cannabis assets and pages to run advertising. And they could so choose, if they wanted to only market their clothing within a couple miles of all of their dispensaries to a 21 and up audience of people that are interested in High Times Magazine, Bob Marley, Willie Nelson, and a few other things. You can use audience targeting on these tools of Instagram and Facebook of saying someone must be interested in this and this. And I mean, you could go further and further down the line, but 2 or 3 levels of someone must like this and like this. You can usually, even if it doesn't let you say this person smokes weed, you can find things that if someone likes Bob Marley, they also like Burger King, and they also like, the cause, the legalization of marijuana cause or something like that, that person is almost guaranteed 99.9% a weed smoker. So there's different ways of audience segmenting that you can do to find cannabis consumers, even if you can't use explicit cannabis things. And I know I said marijuana legalization in there. I believe there's some factor of a way to target that on Facebook. But regardless, you can look at non-cannabis things to develop demographics of people that are highly likely to be cannabis consumers. It's something I've been doing, so I know it can be done. And looking at these tools and these audience segmentation of Facebook and Instagram, that's what makes those such big advertising. Outside of cannabis, Facebook and Instagram are one of the largest places of one of the largest ad marketplaces for companies, and their targeting tools and the ways to dial in on demographics is incredibly granular and impressive. And so that's why I think there's a big opportunity for cannabis brands to leverage those. Anyways, back to this, non-cannabis aligned brands. So if we look at other examples outside of cookies, because people are like, oh, cookies, they've been around. I'm wearing one right now, the Marathon. The Marathon was an extension of rapper Nipsey Hussle's just personal brand turned into clothing, the Marathon clothing. And then they did the Marathon OG collaboration with the Cure Company. And then they also had the offspawn to start the Marathon Cultivation. So they have this vehicle to promote their clothing, but it's the same name as their cannabis brand. And if they so choose to target audiences that are highly likely to be cannabis consumers within a couple miles of their dispensary, they're effectively advertising their clothing and their cannabis, the same brand. To them, it doesn't matter. They're advertising a brand. Doesn't matter what someone's buying. They're getting that brand in front of people on the top layer of the funnel. Another person I've seen, Alien Labs. I've seen their owner, Ted. I've seen him advertise clothing, Alien Labs clothing, through his personal Facebook account, Instagram account. They might do it through their Alien Labs Instagram account, but that one has a lot more cannabis on it. If you look at Ted's, there is some, but it's not as much on his wall. So it's not, he could make a case that, hey, this isn't a cannabis brand, this is a personal account. And so he's able to run ads on clothing. But again, I'm a cannabis consumer. When I see an Alien Labs t-shirt, I'm thinking about Alien Labs cannabis. Fresh Baked has their clothing line. I often get served their ads for their lifestyle and clothing brand. There's a variety of other people that have been able to do this. And so one of the not big secrets, but the big caveats to this is your brand name cannot be weed. If your name is the Marathon Cannabis, that's not going to work. But if you can if this said cannabis underneath it and you dropped cannabis, you could use the Marathon. And whether it says cannabis under it or not, if you have a strong enough brand and you're targeting the right people, they don't need to see the word cannabis to know that it's cannabis or think about cannabis. Or if you do the right thing with the positioning and the content, people will be able to read between the lines. The beautiful thing about cannabis is we spent decades of talking about it without explicitly saying it and still knowing what someone else meant in terms of buying or selling cannabis. So this is rooted in a culture that doesn't need explicitly spelled out for them to understand what they're going for. That's just the nature of cannabis based on the culture and the historical aspects of how this plant and this community has talked, shared, and participated in the commerce around said plant. But this is a popular thing you see people do. It doesn't have to necessarily be a clothing brand. You could be a record label. You could do, a bakery, like an actual bakery, and just sell baked goods, but have it the same name. I don't know. You could there's a long line of different brands that you could take the same name as your cannabis brand that has relevance in the same demographics and audiences and still leverage these powerful tools to get your brand name and your logo, sans the word cannabis or something, and it can't have a pot leaf on it or any imagery like that, but get that in front of the people you want to get to. And so that's more of a top level of the funnel, which a lot of these things are building awareness, right? We can't necessarily do a retargeting campaign through this to an e-commerce on an Instagram page, much like you could do if we were just a clothing company. There are some other things that simply cannot be done. On to the third one, and building off that, is creative brand integrations. And I will say that another one, I think you see that the picture that we had done a while back for Burner over there at Cookies. So Cookies has the clothing aspect. They take advantage of this. And this third one, the creative brand integrations, is Burner. Also, his music. Burner himself is a personal brand on music. It's obviously very much in bed. I mean, he is Cookies and Cookies is Burner, but there is a separation of church and state there. And when Burner promotes his music, when he comes to town, he pulls up in a tour bus that's wrapped in cookies. He has the music, this creative brand integration with his music branding and just his music in general, where he can promote cookies to a very wide audience across traditional marketing realms, whether it's Facebook and Instagram ads, whether it's his music, Spotify marketing, just that tour bus sitting in front of packed venues across the country. this creative brand integration is able to get the Cookies name and branding in front of so many people in the target demographic without having to explicitly market cannabis nug shots or anything like that. If you are still sit there crying like, I can't advertise weed, that's what it is. You need to get over it, and you need to understand there are some ways you can still leverage these tools, but the way that you want to, get off being stuck on that and be creative. And so some other ways to do creative brand integrations is you could work with a musician, right? It went viral. There's a video we shared that went viral on our page, and I know it went viral beyond our page, that MGK was rapping with the homeboy was playing the ukulele. He did a lot of stuff with Roddy Ricch, all these rappers. He's playing the ukulele, and MGK's just rapping. The dude playing the ukulele in the MGK video, he was wearing a West Coast Cure shirt, the cannabis brand. That video went viral in front of millions and millions and millions of people. West Coast Cure's name and logo got dead set in front of them because there was 2 people in the video, and one of them was wearing a West Coast Cure. I'm not sure if that was specifically paid or not, but if a brand were to take a marketing approach, you could manufacture and execute very much a strategy like that. And even if it didn't go viral, you could get in front of a lot of people. And that type of video, as long as there's no cursing or other explicit nature, that video could be used as an advertisement from a non-cannabis page, thus having a cannabis brand leveraging Facebook and Instagram paid ads, getting it out to the masses. There's ways to run Spotify playlists. There's ways to work with media companies like Respect My Region to do all sorts of these things. And there's people that aren't us out there that you could do it with. They might not be thinking like that, but if you're thinking like that and see the route of working with them, you can put together the play and set it up. There are plenty of ways to leverage these powerful advertising tools on Facebook and Instagram. You just need to be creative and think outside of the box and stop thinking so granularly or narrow focused on, I can't show pictures of nugs and run ads on it. I can't do this. No, you cannot do that. That's how it is. You can cry about it, or you can get creative and take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. There is a lot of them out there. And as always, if you're curious, you want to sound off, you have more questions, anything like that, feel free to hit the inbox, email us, respectmyregion@gmail.com, Mitch@respectmyregion.com if you want to reach me personally. Hit us up, DM, comment. If you have any thoughts, anything to add to this, do you have experiences doing this? Who else are you seeing that's leveraging this? There are massive amounts of opportunity to leverage these paid tools for cannabis brands. You just got to be creative. Let us know if you have any ideas, and let us know in the comments. And as always, make sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube.